Negativity bias is when you tend to remember negative experiences over positive ones. But I was wondering, what happens if we form positivity bias? Welcome to Parking Lot Philosophy, the only show where how long I stay in the car makes it harder for me to breathe. I today hit a green left arrow, which none of you know my commute, so you don't know how exciting that is. But I would say I can count on my hands each month how many times I actually get the left green right away when I roll up to the stop. I mean, it's completely random. I rarely hit it though. 9 times out of 10, when I start approaching the left turn that I have to make on my commute, there's only one, or I guess there's actually multiple, but the important one that I always miss. 9 times out of 10, I will see that it's green, but I will be far enough away that I miss the entire cycle and have to wait. And it's somewhat of a busy intersection, so it usually, it's a couple minutes sitting at that light. This is something that I've been thinking about for a while, but I always remember when I miss the light, but I rarely actually remember when I hit the light. I can remember more times every time I'm 1 second, 1 second away from actually getting the light. And so that's something that, I've kind of had in the back of my head, like forming my own personal like positivity bias. There's so many things in my life that, the negativity bias, I remember it's like this negative experience and I forget the positive ones. And I think really in a lot of ways it can hold me back. Really, I think it holds any of us back. Going on walks are great. I love going on walks. But specifically with trails, my wife and I had this one experience a few years ago where we got through a bunch of those, or we got a bunch of those little deer ticks, like the really tiny ones. And we probably spent an hour plucking out ticks from our legs. And this, of course, is after having like instantly ran to a shower that was at the trail to try and like blast off as many as we could. I mean, it was a disgusting amount of ticks. And so it's one of those things where it's like, I don't want to walk on that set of trails, but it's a beautiful set of trails. And so that's something we've had positive experiences out there. 5 other times, it was just a 1 out of 6 chance on a random like fall day. And we ended up, losing the draw. But because of that, I tend to not go out to those trails anymore. And so that's one of the things, trying to form my own positivity bias where I make it a point to remember all of the good things that do happen or the good experiences. And it doesn't necessarily have to be with things you experience a lot or experience negative things, but even the little things too. For instance, my office is very loud all the time. For some reason, the fan or the vent in my office creates a suction into the room, so it makes this loud howl sound almost all the time. So I have to close my vent. And even with the vent closed, it makes, a lot of noise. But it means quiet, like real silence is such an enjoyable experience. And a lot of times, I forget how nice it is. In the mornings, like at my house, wake up in the morning, just get something to drink. And if I have enough brain power to not just instantly turn something on the TV while I'm eating breakfast, I kind of remember like, holy shit, silence is a really amazing feeling. It gives me time to reflect. And I think there really is a lot of value in recognizing all those positive little moments when a lot of times we think about the negative ones. We'd think about the vent in my office being so loud. And that's partially because if you think about negativity bias, it is that loud vent in your office. It's the thing that keeps on happening, that kind of blocks out all the times when, the vent isn't on in my office. And that's just something, I think so much of social media and modern society is about, here's all the things that are wrong with society. Here's all the bad things going on in the news. Here's all the reasons you should be angry. I mean, social media is literally designed to make us angrier and keep us frustrated. And then on top of that, if you've ever heard of like technocrats, those are the like high level elites who use technology to kind of control the lower classes. That's not entirely. I'm pretty sure you can just be a technocrat and it's like you love technology, but that's how it's used in modern day. But those people, the people higher up, they want you to be frustrated. They want you to be angry. They don't want you to remember how it feels to like have silence in your head for a little bit. They don't want you to, enjoy going on a walk. They want you to remember all those bad experiences. They want you to remember that this year is a terrible year for Lyme disease, or that this year, the mosquitoes have Zika, or et cetera, XYZ. And so it's one of those things where it's almost really challenging to build positivity bias. And I mean, it's literally not ingrained in us. I mean, I think biologically we're going to remember bad things because we don't want bad things to happen to us. You fall off a roof because you're roofing. You're going to always remember roofing as a bad experience, not as like, oh, it was profitable, or, oh, I enjoyed the fresher air up top, things like that. You can tell how many times I've roofed a house. It's like a total of 1 times. And so that's one of the things. I think there is a lot of opportunities for us to kind of have positivity in our lives, but that doesn't necessarily mean you don't have negativity, or you act like your life is perfect. I think that's an entirely different thing. I'm just saying, trying to put a lot of value on those little experiences, like getting the left arrow, getting a little bit of silence in the morning, even to, the things where it's like my office has free lunch fairly frequently. But a lot of times that feels overshadowed by the times I have to stay late, or I have a late meeting, or, even worse, I forget my lunch. Those are all of the experiences I remember instead. But I do have, a really great wealth of positive experiences and things, and I wanted to share, have a little bit of that positivity bias, build that in. The car is getting very hot. It's summer now, and the carbon dioxide levels are rising rapidly, which is making it harder for me to breathe. So I am going to peace out. In the comments, let me know. Try and build up that positivity bias, or experiences you've had that kind of foster that positivity. But yeah, I will talk to you later. Bye for now.